freedom or death. We gas ourselves up, but we short on breath. Talking about we eating, but who we really cooking. Dreaming about greens, but ain't nobody looking. No land, no acres, no seeds in the ground. When the hunger hits, who's gonna be around? We starving every day, and it just ain't the food. Feeding the hood garbage, got 'em acting a fool. We flossing with rides, stunting with chains, but these bars we spitting just bring more pain. We guilty as hell, preaching all these lies, selling debt to the kids, and we acting surprised. We commercialize the pain, broadcast the grief, tell the youth to hustle, but hide the beef. We glorify the trap, invite them to the flames, just like Reagan brought the crack on planes. Back in the 80s when the streets got soaked, my people, my brothers, all got choked. Reagan said no trades, but we know the deal. He left us in the dirt, man, that shit was real. I was just a shorty watching it unfold, old enough to see how we got sold. War on drugs, but it was war on us. Cops on our necks, no love, no trust. They labeled us thugs, beast on the block, made us kiss the pavement while they cleaned our clock. Prison became business thanks to Reagan's game. Free labor is the truth in America's name. Slavery's dead, man. That's just a word. Read the 13th Amendment, it's still absurd. They lock us in cages, serving time for life. Double digits for wisdom, cutting sharp like a knife. I'm here to say, the chains in the air, it's time we break free, start showing we care. No more flexing for nothing, no more selling out. It's time to rock. Good morning, 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 good morning. You already know how we do this, independent music. Here is D1 featuring Boosie, Gangsta Remix. And I'll be right back right after this.
If we gon' keep it gangsta, we gon' keep it gangsta then.
Oh Lord, this the remix. We changing the definition of gangsta. Growing and nurturing gifts, serving the Almighty.
If we gon' keep it gangsta, we gon' keep it gangsta then.
D1 and Boosie, this history right here.
You don't know where you going, you better grab your Bible then.
What's up? Yeah. Excuse me, but I gotta let the Most High use me. Cause God working on me, but he also working through me. They usually asking me why I'm not in the street. No, I ain't anti-social, I'm protecting my peace. Grew up in the East with the least, but we survived it too. And you call them boys your brothers, but which one gon' ride for you? Ain't no G-code no more, for the streets and lie to you. That's why I be in my bag, but I be in my Bible too. And I can't lie to you, I'm so proud of you. If you take what's deep inside of you and allow it to rain. Charlemagne said, D1, you necessary, brother. Well, I'm the son of God, so it's hereditary, brother. They don't like me, but they know they can't deny me. Man, I'm a real gangster, and you know right where to find me. G-A-N-G-S-T-A, do not try me. Growing and nurturing gifts, serving the Almighty. They don't like me, but they know they can't deny me. Man, I'm a real gangster, and you know right where to find me. G-A-N-G-S-T-A, do not try me. Growing and nurturing gifts, serving the Almighty.
If we gon' keep it gangsta, we gon' keep it gangsta then. If you don't know where you going, you better grab your Bible then. God really been my friend, I made a bag last Monday. Went to church out of town, I couldn't miss last Sunday. Know the devil on me. Who keep it gangsta? Boosie Boo, he got the title. Took it all and gave it back, man, I'm Job in the fight. Got his award, he ain't even thank God. Guess it shows he ain't really have it hard. He was raised right, you know where to find me. Somewhere where it's going down with a whole lot of jewelry on shining. Bible chain with the diamond, Jesus piece with the diamond. Better ask lose down, don't try. Boosie bad.
They don't like me, but they know they can't deny me. Man, I'm a real gangster, and you know right where to find me. G-A-N-G-S-T-A, do not try me. Growing and nurturing gifts, serving the Almighty. They don't like me, but they know they can't deny me. Man, I'm a real gangster, and you know right where to find me. G-A-N-G-S-T-A, do not try me. Growing and nurturing gifts, serving the Almighty.
That was D1 featuring Boosie. Where I want to get into this first. Yesterday on his show, Anton Daniels, he talked about and showed between the mayor and some journalists that I think it was a good talking point that people really should listen to, because a lot of this is not over. Everybody talks about that American first. Um, and a lot of our administrations are not like that. A lot of our city entities, our county entities, we have sanctuary policies. People now are protesting. It used to be about black people because we were tired of, hearing the stories about Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, Emmett Till, and still seeing these shit over and over and over again. So I feel like that's why a lot of black people came out in 2020, and then we had COVID uh, at that same time. But also during that, there was so much access to free money, and people were doing it fraudulently. Didn't matter if people were getting PPP loans or unemployment from different states that they didn't even live in, and not only that, but we also seen, so much fraud coming from our own state, our own cities, our own nonprofits, our own churches that were supposed to be helping the people. No matter if they were Somalian, it didn't matter if they were white, it didn't matter if it was Asian people, it didn't matter if it was blacks, because they took advantage of that shit. And it didn't matter if they were Democrats, it didn't matter if they were Republicans, they didn't care because what they seen was free money. That's all people seen. They didn't see change and reform in our communities, even though that's what we needed, because that stuff continues today to be happening, and people don't are in uproar. Just the other night, Minneapolis had a mass shooting. Right, rest in peace, Muna Drills, and it really, really, really hurts me to see that we come together nowadays for illegal aliens, immigrants, whatever y'all want to call them, right? Migrants, whatever. But we don't come for our own people that we know need help, that need help, that we know. And I didn't read Live on Lake Street's forward. You put a post out, I guess, last night or yesterday at some time. And I really didn't read it. I know some people have looked into it, and others haven't. I don't care about none of that, to be honest. So I know we need to have a talk about safety. We need to have a talk, because there should be no way in hell that people are getting inside bars. It's supposed to be a gun-free zone, but people are still being killed in those zones. Why? Because we have loopholes. Our people just disregard the laws that we have to do what they need to do, are doing what they feel they need to do, right? So this is Brandon Johnson, the Chicago mayor. Everybody knows that J.B. Pritzker has been in the media lately, especially when it comes to talking about the National Guard, talking about military being in areas that maybe they shouldn't be in. And especially it's against our people. That's what I don't understand, right? We're literally have a war. I won't even say a war. We have a conflict in our own country that they're doing a militarized operation, that we have citizens that are causing chaos, that are causing mayhem. And shit is getting out of hand. I'll be serious. Shit is getting out of hand. I mean, just yesterday, uh, I don't know if it happened yesterday or the day before, but the Israel temple uh, in Minneapolis was vandalized. And I know that's getting a lot of play because in my eyes, um, they're not talking about a death. And why isn't the person in custody? Because you should know who did it. There's cameras all over. So why isn't the person in custody? They might be in custody right now, but from my understanding, what I seen this morning, that the shooter was still loose. So how? when you have all those cameras, of where he went, because y'all could have followed him. And I'm sure that's what you guys are doing. You're following his footsteps, no matter if it's his trying to get his number to ping. We all seen that shit. We all see the things that they can do nowadays. So why are shooters getting 3, 4, 5 days to cause more mayhem? Even though some might be in hiding, but they're causing mayhem in our communities. People are still afraid, because I will tell you right now is that, what's crazy to me is that a lot of people will say that, certain people's killers are dead, or they're out there. Then why are we still that people are in fear? Why? Because I will tell you like this, stop going, because nobody cares about the wrong time, wrong place. You don't care about that no more. And stop going to, especially, this is what I don't understand, right? We literally have people that want to think they're gangster. They want to think they're bowdy. They want to think they're all that. Just know that there is people. This is the one thing that I will say, right? Is that a bullet doesn't care how big you are, doesn't care how tough you are. It doesn't care about none of that. Doesn't care about your race. It doesn't care about if you're a male, woman, trans. A bullet doesn't care about none of that. The person that shoots a gun, that's what they care about. They care about they can't fight. They care about they don't want to get their ass whooped. They don't want to lose in a fight. So instead of losing that fight, instead of, I remember that scene from Friday where Ice Cube and John Witherspoon, they were playing father and son in that movie. And a part of it, I think he was like, you don't have to carry that gun. I didn't, because I always fought with my hands and fists. And then we shook hands, and everybody woke up the next day after they went to sleep that night. You know what I'm saying? Like, where did that society, where did that community go, where people were not afraid to take an ass whooping? So they would rather pull the trigger. Let's be honest. That's what it is clearly about. People are scared to lose in a fight. So what would they rather do? They pull that trigger and think that they're big and bad. But when they're not, all they're doing is hurting people and innocent bystanders at that. That's one thing that I will never understand it. And one thing that we've gotten away as a society is we've allowed people this type of behavior. We don't call it out enough. We don't call it out because we would rather keep on being fed. We don't want to bite that hand. And I will never understand that. So here is Brandon Johnson holding a press conference about National Guard deployments to Chicago.
Mayor Johnson, over the last week, I've literally interacted with over 300,000 plus real Chicagoans who say that it is hate speech for you to evoke the Civil War, to evoke bringing back the Confederacy, to say that law enforcement is a sickness when you yourself have over 150 sworn police officers on your detail. What do you say to these people, and will you ask your 150 sworn police officer CPD detail to stand down if you and your wife Stacy are ever attacked, shot at, or rammed with a protester vehicle?
Okay. Well, first of all, I'm sorry to hear that your numbers of interactions have gone down to only 300,000.
Actually, millions, but
Well,
personally, I've
which
interacted
one?
with over 300,000.
So it went down this week.
No, it's going up.
You just
Higher than
said,
yours, by the way.
so
Okay,
300,000.
thank you. Thank you,
Okay.
William.
So,
Thanks,
so
William.
I think it's,
Brandon want to be caddy.
Thieves stole our generators. Someone or some people actually broke into one of our.
it's important to be able to make sure that to the people that you're talking to, though you're talking to less and less people every week, is that they know the truth. Here's what I've said, that the addiction on jails and incarcerations and the addiction of militarism, it is an evil. And Dr. King made that very clear. He did. And so I believe it's incumbent upon us to make sure that the real Chicagoans or the real people of America, instead of sending billions of dollars overseas, we should be spending it on the people right here in the city of Chicago. That's what we should be doing. The fact of the matter is that the President of the United States of America is spending billions of dollars to secure Argentina while farmers are...
What? So wait. We supposed to use our federal tax dollars to make sure that you, who is incompetent on managing a budget, who's incompetent when it comes to making sure that the city is safe, who advocated for and allocated monies to the tune of, some estimate, well over $700 million to house illegal migrants, that you, who refused to work with the Trump administration when he first got in, and y'all said that y'all would not work with the Trump administration to get rid of illegal migrants, even if they committed a crime, that somehow, some way, we, as taxpayers in the United States of America, not in Chicago, but in the United States of America, are supposed to allocate monies to make sure that your agenda, which is absolute trash, continues to serve the American people, but instead it's supposed to serve you. Hell no. What is wrong with this mayor? Honest to God. If anything, the one thing that we all can agree on, and this is a fact, is that the Trump administration pulled monies, especially when the Department of Government Efficiency was doing audits, and we could see that. He was pulling money away from foreign entities and interests in favor of spending more time to address the national deficit and tariffing other countries so that we can generate more revenue inside of the United States of America, while liberals were the ones that were saying that they support China and they support all of this other stuff and whatever, so on and so forth. Honestly, again, this guy is famous for all of the wrong reasons and being the worst mayor of America, if you ask me.
being undermined by the very investments that he's making in other parts of the world. Doesn't sound like he is prioritizing the American people. The fact that he is spending billions of dollars to crush,
to eliminate and get out people that's not even supposed to be here in the United States of America while you protect them,
and to kill children, versus making sure that the children on the west and south sides of Chicago actually have access to a well-funded education system,
crazy.
Shows you that he is not interested in ensuring that the real Chicagoans or the real Americans are actually being invested in.
Well, the real Chicagoans that I talk to, that I communicate with, mostly black and brown, actually, tell me that you don't seem to know the difference between illegal aliens and real Chicago citizens. They feel that you are siding with the illegal aliens over them in their communities. And sadly,
William, let's get to the question.
let's get to the question. The real question is simply this.
Whoever this
I don't know
reporter
how to make it any more direct. An illegal alien from Nicaragua grabbed a woman on the north side
Is
last
the question?
week, bashed her head into the sidewalk, knocked her unconscious, and raped her. If that had been your wife, Stacy,
Okay, all right, we're not going to answer. Thank you. Thanks, William.
All right.
would you want ICE to deport her?
All right.
To
Let's
deport that
let's move
illegal
on.
alien? Yes or no?
Let's move on.
Answer the question as a man, not as mayor, but as a
All right.
man. Would you want
Yeah, thanks. Thank you.
ICE to deport that rapist?
So it's okay if it happened to other people as long as it doesn't come to my doorstep. Got it.
Taman?
Okay,
Mayor.
that's the answer. That's the answer for real Chicago.
Mayor, sorry being late to traffic's bad. Maybe the feds could help.
You're not blaming me for the traffic, are you, Tamar? Watch it.
Can we switch gears for a second? The
Please.
budget. So you've had several press conferences with Governor Pritzker. Presumably, you all have had some time to talk. I'm wondering if you personally lobbied him for your Springfield veto session agenda, and how this budget season rollout's going to go. Are you going to start by identifying savings and efficiencies? Do you want to just leave this blank since the alders are working on kind of their own budget? What's about to happen?
Well, I have a responsibility as the executive of this city to present a budget. I'm going to do that. It's going to be balanced. And what I've said, and I'm committed to doing, I'm going to keep to my word, is that I'm going to present a budget that challenges the ultra-rich to pay their fair share in taxes.
This guy is
I'm going to challenge that.
This guy is insane.
Our corporations, particularly those who have received tax cuts from the president, have to put more skin in the game. Look, the president's cuts are real. He's cutting our public education system. He's cutting off our public transportation investments. He's literally withholding over almost $2 billion for the south side of Chicago. We fought 50 years to get that done. We got it done in my time as mayor. And now he's withholding those dollars. Every single area
This is crazy.
where descendants of slaves have fought for accommodations by the government, that's what he's attacking. Education, cuts to education,
No, he's not.
cuts to transportation, cuts to healthcare, cuts to
Healthcare
jobs.
for illegal migrants. That has nothing to do with the city of Chicago's budget and why he's trying to leverage the federal government against the fact that their inability to manage a budget and they sold off their own streets. That has nothing to do with Trump.
Jobs.
They should have been going to pre-COVID era budgeting and spending,
Right.
but they failing the people and they raising taxes on not only just on trying to raise taxes on because the rich people are not going to pay no more in taxes.
Right.
Let's be very clear. They have the
Right.
option to be able to move, do what they want to do.
Right.
They already probably making adjustments.
Yep.
I mean, literally every area.
They got to put.
And so my budget
Man, get out of here.
will have to
Be a flat
address
tax.
the very cuts that are coming from the federal government. And that's why, I have worked collaboratively with multiple industries and entities, whether it's the business community, which by the way, the Chicagoland Chamber of Commerce, they're recognizing the economic comeback of Chicago and how Trump's cuts are hurting that. And so that's why
Economic comeback, but then they have a huge, the highest vacancy rate ever on the Magnificent Mile, which is the
Right.
tourist destination of Chicago. You have budget deficits that continue to balloon and explode, and it's getting worse than it's ever been before in the history. But he's going to sit here and lie to you guys. But see, I know what the truth is.
this budget that I'm going to put forth is going to have some considerations from every person who has contributed to this work that we will have to find some ways.
That is interesting because I'll be honest, a lot of administrations, entities, they're not working with the other side. There's no balance when it comes down to policies, when it comes down to ordinances, people thinking. You're getting more liberal, progressive, collaborative than he's getting with conservative, Republican. So what I want to switch to is that fraud continues to be a problem in Minnesota. And it is time that it's not only just Minnesota, though. So in 2024, there was supposedly in all the programs from the feds, from federal, was $162 billion. $162 billion supposedly just missing. It was used fraudulently, wasteful, not on programs. This is the whole thing that I honestly want people to think about and to honestly know is that we put so much money from taxes, from all these other things. And you got to understand, there's not a one or two or three or four. No, there's millions of people that are paying these taxes. No matter if you're going to the corner store, no matter if you're going to the grocery store, the shoe store, the clothing store, you're paying some kind of tax. Even if you go to the weed store. Even if you go to the weed store, you're paying some kind of tax. So we have to understand that we could have funded no more homelessness. But that's not what they wanted. They didn't want to eradicate gun violence, gang violence, all these kids dying violence. They don't, that's not at the forefront for them. That's not a high priority because it's not entities. And this is the thing that I want y'all to understand of that getting rid of crime, getting rid of violence. It doesn't pay. It doesn't pay. That's why we see all these churches, all these nonprofits. Is it because it pays to have poor people? That's why there's so many programs, no matter if it comes down to WIC, veterans, welfare, Medicaid. So why aren't things getting better? That's what I really, really, really want people to think about. Why aren't we getting better? I always hear that. Let's make America great again. But when was America ever great? Was it great when my ancestors were in chains? Or Jim Crow? Or being killed for being black? That's what I really, really want to ask people, because a lot of individuals can never feel that. They don't have family that land was stolen from. Opportunities were snatched away. Not because we were doing it wrong, because we were the wrong color. If we were white, they wouldn't have done that. That's what I want, really, really want people to understand. It's like we can all go all the way back to the Bible. And Jesus was killed by his own people. That's not made up. That's facts. That's facts. People teamed together to get rid of Jesus. Not because he was out here doing wrong, because he was doing right. The same thing with JFK, Malcolm X, Fred Hampton. It wasn't because they were out here doing wrongs. It was because they could bring the people together. They could bring people, they could unite people with that message. Because it was a uniting message. Look at why we had food programs. Look at why we had after school programs. Who started those? That's what a lot of people don't want to talk about. Who started those? Who started that? Yeah, it was the Black Panthers. So that's why a lot of these things were started to help the Black population. And now you have Democrats who are progressive and liberal, but they're not doing it for the Black people anymore. They're doing it for the trans. They're doing it for all these other labels, but not the one that matters. Not the one that matters. You know, that's the one thing that I had I'm not going to say who I had a conversation with. They messaged me and told me to stop the gay shit, stop the homophobia. I said, what do you mean? So there's no, I don't hate. Hate isn't a bone in my body. So what are you talking about? He said, well, that God created Adam and Eve thing. And I went, well, he did. That's not a lie. God did create Adam and Eve. He didn't create Adam and Steve, or even Amanda and Eve. He created Adam and Eve. That's not me being homophobic. How is that me being homophobic saying that? That's what I really want to ask people. How is that being homophobic? Of me stating that God created Adam and Eve. How is that me being hateful? That's what I really, really, really want to ask people. How is that being hateful? I'm against wrong. I don't care what your label is. It's already written for you. You want to be accepted and force it down people's throats. In my eyes, that's not okay. That's why we see so much violence out here. That's why we see all this. And of course, it starts to be political. But is it really political? And it's not a hate crime. That's the one thing I will never understand is like, they, not that I'm trying to laugh or anything, but it's like, how is that a hate crime? It's not a hate crime. You know, when people don't understand, or maybe they can't, but they think that because a trans woman has lied and, you know, maybe gave some homeless dude's head or whatever, and maybe some guys wanted to fuck. And when there wasn't a pussy there, no coochie, they, you know, some men, I don't know what some people do, but that's not a hate crime to me. That's you. If that person thinks that that's a woman, but it's actually a man, and they didn't tell them that, how's that hate? Because if they would have had that conversation up front, and then something happened, then we can have that conversation of hate. Because why did that person do that? If they knew that they were trans and you had a relationship with it, and because I shouldn't say it with them, made it sound like it was an alien or something, but it's a human being. So if they told the person up front and being honest and living in who they are, and the person kills them, then we can have a conversation about hate. Then we can have a conversation about hate. But that's not what any of this shit is. Even when it comes down to the school shootings, you know, even with this gun control, man, this shit is getting out of hand of how I seen this gun control shit. And you have people in the Twin Cities that are even some governments, some county ones in some city are trying to ban assault rifles, ban guns, and ban, you know, a whole bunch of other things. And it's like, y'all, you cannot do that. You can't go, you know, that's the one thing is like, I wouldn't even say half the people in Minnesota want gun bans. I think most people in Minnesota want more mental health services, want more education, more opportunities, but we don't get none of that. All we ever get are ordinances, legislation, and things that are being used fraudulently. So we never get to the core of the issue because there's so many other things to correct before we get there. So why don't we just build from the ground up? Why don't we build that foundation? Let's just fuck. I'm not saying like fuck the Constitution or the city charters or anything like that. I'm saying we need to rewrite it. Why are people trying to put committees or task forces about that? Why? Because they don't want things to change. They want people to live in chaos. Let's be honest. They profit off of chaotic and chaos. They profit. The more chaos there is in the world, the more they profit off. The more that we fight wars, the more that we're involved in wars, they profit off that. So when is it really going to be about the people? Let's finally profit off the people. Let's profit with the people. Let's not leave them the last in a marathon when there's so many other people out here. Let's stop leaving them last. Let's stop making them the disenfranchised voters. Let's listen up. We always say a one Minnesota, but let's act like it. Let's bring all the voices to the table. Instead of you have people coming up to the state and saying, well, we want to help, people that are underprivileged or don't have enough food or blah, blah. But why are we have so many, them same people that go up to the state? Why do the programs that they run, they have to make hundreds of thousands of dollars? So if you're fighting homelessness, but then yet you can get into a Benz, or you have a 5-bedroom house, but yet you make over $300,000 a year, or let's say $200,000 a year, how are you helping anybody? Because in my eyes, to me, that is reparations. That is reparations to me. Like, we'll take care of you because you're taking care of the homeless, or you're taking care of the underprivileged, the uneducated, the ones on disability, the people who are just trying to work a job and to pay their bills and don't even care about politics. They don't care who the mayor is. They don't care who the city council person is. Shit, some people don't even care about their school board members. But that's fine and dandy. But I think now is time for people to stand up and have conversations, because we're coming to a pass and a time, I shouldn't even say a pass, a time in America that we've never seen before. We thought George Floyd was, or even COVID. No, what's happening now is even bigger, and it's been brewing. The same thing that police brutality you are going to have when it comes down to transgenders and girl sports. You are really going to see a pop off. And not only even with this fraud, because I do believe that in November, next month, after maybe about a week or maybe even a couple of days, you are going to see people get arrested because some of these people won their elections. I'm not saying they did it correctly. I'm not saying that a lot of them had done it wrong. I've seen enough of, interviews or talking to people that they feel like because the ones who above them allowed it, it was okay. Even though they knew it was wrong. A lot of people that I've talked to that have been in the, housing programs, or, even I've talked to people that have been in services, and most of the services that were supposedly helping them, they were never getting, but they were being billed for that just because they had insurance. And people were paying. I shouldn't even say people, because it was Medicaid in the state. But it wasn't helping out people that were semi-homeless or trying to get into that house. And now we have made it, because of all that fraud, I really want to show people how bad it is really, really going to get, because I really don't think people understand that.
It seems like every week, almost every day, we find out about another massive fraud case in the state of Minnesota, from cases involving hundreds of millions of dollars to cases that involve about $100,000. So today, Gordon asked a pretty simple but important question. What is being done on the front end, now that we know what we know, to stop it?
Yeah, and every case is unique, but investigators say that there are some common themes that show up in many of these fraud cases. They say fraud often happens when one person or one entity has complete control over the finances, and there isn't a system of double and triple checking to make sure that the money is going to the right place.
The story has become all too familiar.
A story of fraud that pops up nearly every time you turn on the news, it seems, with major fraud cases and millions of dollars.
I've literally run out of ways to express what is happening in our state and in our state programs.
The problem is clear, but the solution is a little more complicated.
It's a lack of controls. It's a lack of prevention.
Mike Olson is a former Secret Service agent who spent years investigating fraud. A big problem he sees is a lot of government entities are relying more heavily on technology.
I absolutely think the pandemic has played a part in this. We've gotten so used to just dealing with a device in front of us and not having that personal engagement and interaction.
And having human beings double and triple check payments coming in and going out. He says another issue is employees often don't feel like they can report fraud if they see it.
Give a voice to their employees and ensure that when they report something, they can remain anonymous, and let employees know that, in fact, anything they report is taken seriously.
Some lawmakers also feel that more oversight is needed. At the state capitol last session, the Senate approved the creation of a new state inspector general's office that would have the power to investigate state agencies for fraud. The idea didn't make it through the House, but lawmakers are expected to debate the idea again next session. And Olson thinks it's a good idea.
I think anytime you take the audit function and fully remove it from an entity itself, it has the potential to have more transparency and accountability and better governance.
Olson says it's easier and faster to have just one person or one department have complete control over the finances. But it's also easier to miss things or to take advantage of the system if no one else is watching.
They get tempted because of no controls, no random audits, no random check-ins by leadership or supervisors, and they become tempted. They get away with it once, and they do it again and again. Pretty soon it becomes, well, nobody cares.
And fraud isn't just a Minnesota problem. According to the U.S. Government Accountability Office, more than $160 billion in fraud was reported by federal government agencies last year. More than half of that fraud involved Medicare and Medicaid.
Yeah, it's the Medicare and Medicaid fraud that obviously has the huge national problem. But Gordon, you just reported yesterday on a $100,000 fraud. Was that just a case of one person had the reins?
That was one person having complete control over the finances and the books. And, we're starting to hear more of those kinds of cases with businesses. Cybersecurity is becoming another avenue for fraud. And this expert I spoke with said that a lot of these criminal organizations are kind of seeing our government programs as a really great way to steal money. So he says that a lot of governments really need to focus more resources and attention on that.
Absolutely agree. Thanks so much, Gordon. That was interesting.
So that is federally, that is the 162 million. But I want to show you where an in-home disability service programs are teetering on the edge of collapse. But that's because we have so many problems. Oh, shit. Yeah. So because of all the fraud that we're having in Minnesota, you're seeing other programs are having problems. It's because there's all these fraud prevention efforts. And what I've seen some people on TikTok do some, one of them is housing stabilization services. And I can see why some people are getting mad because some of those programs were actually helping people and some of those programs weren't. And we haven't deciphered who's bad and who's good. We just said everybody is bad, but yet we're still helping some organizations who are bad. So I really, really don't understand it. And I really see it as a complicated issue. And it is complicated to me. And like the media has said, is because it's not just Democrats, it's also Republicans. So when we're trying to make laws, that's why we're not seeing no ordinances, no accountability, because we're all seeing that one side of the accountability is coming from the Republicans. Let's be honest. When Lugar was attorney general or attorney for Minnesota, we've seen more of the feeding our future. So now that we're seeing we're seeing a lot. We've seen a lot from Andy, especially when it came to the RICOs with gangs, but wasn't putting any RICOs to all this fraud that was happening in Minnesota because it was a scheme. It was a Ponzi. It was we had so many counterfeit. It was such a problem, but they didn't want to deal with that because a lot of their friends were involved in it. There are a lot of the same thing when it's come with this new administration. I'm kind of glad that you are seeing a lot of it, but we're still not seeing accountability. We're seeing people, some organizations get thrown in there, but not the other ones that we see that we know who are taking advantage of poor and rundown communities to fatten their pockets.
New concerns that fraud prevention efforts in state programs are severely impacting services meant to help Minnesotans. Renee Cooper joins us. And Renee, you sat down with some worried providers and took their concerns to the state.
Yeah, Lindsay, we're talking about the Integrated Community Supports Program, which provides lower-income people with disabilities with in-home daily support services. Last year, the state reported about 2,500 Minnesotans used these services. Now, providers say a change in state law this year threatens the entire program.
We are teetering on the edge of collapse, and nobody seems to be focusing on the real issue.
We met Josh Berg at Roselawn Village, where his company, Accessible Space Inc., provides ICS disability services. DHS reimburses the cost of those services, but doesn't assist with rent.
So there are some providers, nonprofit providers, that raise money to cover the costs that some of their individuals can't afford.
Then, last month, DHS began suspending some ICS provider payments and sent this bulletin as updated guidance on the state's new anti-kickbacks law. One included example of a potential kickback, quote, covering or paying a portion of a recipient's rent.
When it hasn't been an issue for the last 4 years of this program's existence, and now we're second-guessing everything.
And at the moment, it feels like that regulatory ambiguity is being resolved quite strongly against the providers.
We asked DHS, is it considered a kickback if the provider helps to cover rent for the recipient, but does not bill DHS for reimbursement for it? Their response, quote, DHS is unable to provide any legal guidance on the hypothetical you provided, only telling us that providers cannot offer money or in any way incentivize someone to choose their company. As for why providers have been helping pay for rent,
they're scared.
Berg says there's a significant lack of affordable options for ICS clients.
And they haven't fully answered that question of can the provider, through separate means of funding, cover part of the housing for these clients?
No, I mean, and I think so many providers just don't know. And so now they're stuck thinking, I'm better off potentially getting out of this because there is no systemic solution.
Now, so far, 11 providers have had their ICS payments paused. Berg says they've been asking DHS how to navigate the lack of affordable housing long before that. We'll, of course, keep you posted as we continue to push for answers about the impact of the new anti-kickback laws.
All right,
Lindsay.
Renee, we've extensively reported on extensive fraud.
And that's the thing that a lot of people didn't understand, and to this day still don't understand, is that kickbacks are legal in Minnesota, right? The feds have a law for that, but we as a state, we don't have a law for fraud. We don't have a kickback law. So that's one thing that we definitely need to work on in the state when it comes to, and especially in the legislature, is to pass some anti-kickback laws when it comes to our politicians. So next I want to get into, everybody knows what I've been talking about, the White Bear Lake and a 22-year-old. Well, now it's come to find out that he might have had some sexual relations with some girl students. And it's not, in my eyes, it should be taken way more serious. And it's really not. And I think, to me, that's the bad part about all of this, is that it's so, people have become so desensitized to these kind of acts that we don't even really take it honestly serious, and we don't think it's a bad. Let me take that back, because a lot of people do think it's bad. I just don't think we take it as serious as we used to.
Tonight, we got our hands on some new documents that reveal the man accused of posing as a fake White Bear Lake high school student is now being investigated for several possible sexual assault incidents. Jennifer Hoff also talked to the family he had been living with, who say they fear for his safety and their own.
A new search warrant tonight revealing police have now seized Kelvin Lepke's cell phone, the 22-year-old accused of pretending to be a Wiper Lake High School student. The officer writing, it will likely show evidence of several crimes. This after the document also says multiple parents of students called police to report possible sexual assault incidents. That same document showing the news only broke after a parent told police her daughter recognized Lepke as a fellow student in a mugshot from another case, but using a different name. The family he was living with now speaking out about the allegations for the first time, their identity concealed after expressing safety concerns.
He firmly believed he was high school age.
Why did he have that belief?
He got a birth certificate from his biological father in Liberia, which states he was born in 2007.
The school superintendent sending a statement to families, writing federal law requires districts enroll students if they can't provide standard documentation, saying Lepke had a birth certificate from another country and no reason to believe it was fake, spending 19 days at the school. Do you know where he's staying?
Yeah. So I've got him in a place where he can be safe. I've lectured him. You know, it's like, you're over 18, and if you're messing around with girls that are under 18, that's a crime, period. You need to not do that.
So did that lecture come after the news reports came out?
That's been since he started staying here.
So there's a history of him having some sort of contact with underage girls.
Yeah, but I mean, if you look at social media, there's a million boys in the U.S. that are having contact with underage girls.
Lepke isn't facing any charges in this case yet. Police calling it a lengthy investigation with many moving parts. Jennifer Hoff, KARE 11 News.
Every day, more questions than answers. What we do know tonight, Lepke was arrested last week, but it was for violating his probation from an indecent exposure conviction 2 years ago. The Washington County Jail confirming he has since been released.
See, that's, to me, that is...
This isn't just a burger. It's a Midwest
That's crazy as hell, because how couldn't or how didn't somebody find out beforehand? I mean, to me, that's really, 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 yeah, that's wild. I don't know how it wasn't detected or it wasn't, they didn't find out. That's really peculiar, especially knowing that he had other jail cases, mug shots, that nobody ever said something or nobody ever did anything. You know, even with I got to say about the people that he was living with, that's kind of crazy to me how even them themselves didn't even come out and, say, hey, we think this is bad. You need to stop. They made it seem like it was, yeah, they had those daily talks, but you knew it was going on and weren't doing, in my eyes, doing anything about it. Now I want to get into Chauvin. Liz Collins sat down with his lawyer and had an open, I don't know, I won't say a conversation. I don't know how transparent it was. I haven't watched this at all. So I wanted to watch it with you guys. And I wanted to see for myself what was being said. So let's get into Liz Collins and Derek Chauvin's attorney.
More than 5 years after the arrest and heart attack of George Floyd, former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin is still fighting for a fair trial. An exclusive update on the status of his case and a look at those helping behind the scenes next. My guest is Greg Joseph, the attorney representing former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin. Greg, thank you for being here. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me, Liz.
I think many people aren't aware that for more than 5 years now, your client, Derek Chauvin, has been fighting for a fair trial. With the 5-year anniversary, if you will, of the George Floyd riots, there was all this talk about a presidential pardon not that long ago. for Derek. So a pardon is one thing. You've been focused on the fact that your client never had a fair and impartial trial in the first place. Let's start there. What can you tell us about that and the current status of Derek's case?
So first of all, I'd welcome any conversation that any federal official wanted to have about this case, and I'd be happy to paint a clear picture of exactly what happened here. But procedurally, kind of where the case is, Derek was sentenced to a slightly more time to serve on his federal case than on the state conviction. So for that reason, he's in federal custody right now. So what we really have to address, though, is the underlying state sentence first, and that's because we've got a statute of limitations that's coming up here. We have to bring this petition within that statute of 2 years. So think of this as Derek's last line of defense. His trial is obviously finished. His direct appeal is finished, and so they call it post-conviction relief in Minnesota. What it is basically is a chance to litigate anything that may have been missed at either his trial level or on his appeal. And fortunately or unfortunately, depending on your perspective, there were quite a few things that were missed. So this is really an opportunity for us to paint a picture not only of what happened, but also how it happened and why it happened. And this is a chance for us to make things right.
Almost 2 years ago, just days after the release of the Fall of Minneapolis documentary, Derek was stabbed 22 times in a prison law library. Still so many questions about how that was allowed to happen at all, and how former FBI informant John Turskak, who has been charged with attempted murder for trying to kill Derek, seems nowhere to be found, according to federal prison records. But Derek has been through so much these past 5 years. I know recently his family was able to visit him again in federal prison. What are his current conditions like? How is he doing?
I think you could say he's doing as well as he could be under the circumstances. The first thing people have to understand is that Derek is tough. Derek is a fighter, and he knows something was wrong here, and something is wrong here. Going through this case with him over the past few months, he's really gotten a clearer picture of what was done. And it's unjust. It was unjust then, and it's unjust today that he's sitting in prison as we speak. Derek's not guilty. He knows that. I know that. But more importantly, we have fair trials in this country. We don't have trials for the sake of having trials. We have fair trials. And if you don't get a fair trial, that's a problem. So that's what we're here to fix.
This jury has, despite all best efforts, has been bombarded with information relevant to this case. It is impossible to stay away from it unless you literally shut off your phone, or you shut off your TV, you shut off your computer, and no such instructions have been given during the course of this trial.
Well, to be fair, the last few times I've advised them, I told them don't watch the news. Pure and simple.
Derek, I'll say, is very grateful for the prayers and for the support that he's gotten. I met with him a little earlier this year, and we speak fairly regularly by phone. And as he's become more familiar with, I think, the body of this case and what happened, it's painted a pretty clear picture for him, too. So how's he doing? He's doing well. He's tough. He's hanging in there, and he's ready for the fight, and it will be.
As you know, myself and Alpha News, that we've faced our share of the lies and injustices in this case. Just months ago, we fought back. We won a defamation lawsuit filed by Minneapolis Assistant Police Chief Katie Blackwell against us for our book, They're Lying, and then the documentary, The Fall of Minneapolis. But in responding to that lawsuit, Greg, more than 14 Minneapolis police officers came forward. They said that Blackwell committed perjury on the witness stand during Derek's trial, and that the maximal restraint technique was part of police training. So after winning the case, many people continue to ask us if the testimony of these 14 officers who said Blackwell committed perjury will somehow help Derek's case in any way.
Well, the first thing to bear in mind, okay, is that Katie Blackwell wasn't the only person who offered that particular testimony. Now, perjury in a criminal sense isn't implicated here. However, in this particular sense, in post-conviction relief, when false testimony is offered at trial, it can absolutely have a bearing on our case, and it will. I'll be able to share more in the upcoming petition. People will get a clearer picture of what happened, but suffice it to say that, yeah, false testimony is frowned upon. There are specific things we have to kind of march through in terms of legal proof, but I feel very confident we'll be able to present a very, very clear picture for the court of what happened.
I want to mention that Greg Joseph and I will be speaking at an upcoming Tea Party meeting that's on November 6th at Greenhaven Golf Course in Anoka. We will be sharing some more details soon. But Greg Joseph, thank you for taking on what can be an incredibly challenging case. Thank you for joining me, and we'll be staying tuned, that's for sure.
Yeah, this is going to be kind of tricky because in my eyes, still that Derek Knight might not have been the whole cause of George's death, but he he definitely was a part of it. That knee on the neck, yes, it was the MRT, whatever they want to call it, was a trained move that they trained. It was in their training books. And Katie Blackwell did get on the stand, and she did find out that I don't know how perjure herself or whatever. It wasn't defamation, wasn't that lawsuit should really, really be talked about more, but it's not. So we expect it. Next, I want to show is that I don't remember if you hear me talking about the sheriff in Winona County has to drop. I shouldn't even say the sheriff's, the attorney office has to drop 39 cases because of their fuck up and DWIs. So 39 of those, and I want to get into it a little bit more. So this is what they played last night on KSTP.
Major developments in a story that we've been tracking in the last couple of weeks regarding DWI test results in Minnesota. Winona County law enforcement says several dozen DWI cases will either be dropped or the convictions may be vacated. And it's not the only county experiencing the problem. A key piece of equipment, this is what we're talking about right here. Eric Shalhoub broke the story and joins us now with an update.
Lindsay, the Winona County Sheriff says his office is working with prosecutors on 39 DWI cases that are affected by the problem. The issue centers on the accuracy of the test results involving a piece of equipment on the machine that helps determine if a driver's over the legal limit. The Winona County Sheriff's Office uses a DMT machine similar to the one in this photo at their jail to detect alcohol in the breath of a driver under suspicion of DWI. The Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension says Winona County is one of 3 counties where a problem was found with the dry gas cylinders being, quote, installed incorrectly. In a statement to 5 Eyewitness News, a BCA spokesperson wrote in part, entering into the DMT instruments as they change the gas cylinder, which is critical to ensuring a certifiable result that the public can have confidence in. The BCA provides DMT machine and gas cylinders, trains local law enforcement, but requires them to perform their own maintenance and upkeep. In this BCA training manual, it explains the DMT utilizes a dry gas cylinder with an approximate alcohol concentration of 0.08. That's used to test a driver's breath to see if the legal limit. Winona County Sheriff Ron Gannerud told 5 Eyewitness News that the wrong cylinder was used in the machine at the jail. Sheriff Gannerud confirmed that 39 cases from mid-June to late September with pending charges or where the driver pled guilty are expected to be dismissed or the convictions vacated. Gannerud says department policy has changed so they, quote, don't make the mistake again by involving more staff now in the process. Meanwhile, the BCA also identified 73 testing questions from Aiken County from a different machine and testing cylinder. We either called or emailed the county attorney's office on Friday, Monday, and again today to see what's happening with those cases, and, well, we haven't heard back. We'll continue to follow it for you.
Damn, to me, I want people to know that's crazy. And we really, really need to have a conversation because this Title IX, what I'm about to talk about next, uh, I think it's really going to show. I mean, and it's it still um, is a problem, and how bad of it is a problem. A problem is it? I look at this, and not all school board members from. I think we should have 87 school boards, but there was a lot of people, I guess, spread out across Minnesota. Because you've seen Prior Lake, you've seen Savage, Quet Lakes, Jackson County, Easter Carver County, Hibbing, New Prague, Brainerd, Caledonia. I mean, so it's like it's all over the place. You have Faribault, Otana, Elk River, Otsego, Rogers, Zimmerman, PEM, Plainview, Elgin, Millville, Zumbrota, Mazeppa, Prior Lake Savage, Waconia, Hastings. Faribault again, Mankato, War Road, Jackson County, Mankato, Elk River, Royalton, Pierce, Bloomington, or not Bloomington, Bemidji. I don't know why I said Bloomington. Bemidji, Forest Lake, Bemidji again, Plainview, Elgin, Millville again, New Prague again, South Washington County, Royalton, Brainerd, Waconia, Upsala. I don't even know where the hell that's at. Jackson County, Detroit Lakes, Bemidji again, Chatfield, Big Lake, Lakeville, St. Francis, Lakeville, Little Falls, Hastings, Forest Lake, Pierce. I mean, it was all over. I mean, it's not just, certain parts of Minnesota, it's all over the place. So how badly does this really affect Minnesota? I don't know a lot of people know what Title IX is, but that is to make sure that girls play girls sports and boys play boys. And so now we're having a conflict, and people will say, "Well, this is complicated." In my eyes, no, it's not. I honestly feel like in the high school sports, and I know a lot of people might disagree with me, but I really don't feel like in under 18 should be able to do that at public schools. I know some that are in high school, so it is going to be kind of sticky. It is going to be kind of weird, but it's not that I hate them. It's nothing. It has anything that I'm disagreeing with you or that I want to see you dead, because I don't want to see you hurt. I don't want to see you be slandered. But this is where I feel like we have really come in a place in America where a lot of kids are going to feel like they're not loved. They're going to feel like they're a problem. And I want people to know it's not them. This is something that is bigger than kids that are playing softball in Champlain Park, or wrestling, and I know it's a southern Minnesota state, so it's down here somewhere, a city. I mean, so I think it's either Caledonia or there's somewhere where there's a trans girl, whatever you want to call it, woman. I shouldn't say whatever, because that is being kind of hateful. But there is a wrestler. So it is weird. We will see how far it goes. I really don't see Minnesota, Keith Ellison I know he's made a comment, they've sued. So really, I don't see them complying by tomorrow. So really get into a fight. Pull up your sleeves and get ready to it, because this is, I'll see, Wabasha Kellogg. Also, they did add new ones on here now. There was, I think, 141 last night that I read. the names or whatever, the school districts, because there's 41 that I even counted, that there was like 41 different schools. Because Red Wing was on here. I'll see Fillmore Central, Crookston, Litchfield. I think this is really going to cause more issues than helping anything out when they did this, because I really do believe that they're going to make people feel a certain type of way, and kids, because is this really about, right or wrong, or is this more of a political moment? I think really people really need to dig down and think about this, because it is, in my eyes, going to get sticky. It is going to get kind of frantic. It is going to get kind of, but it is. And if people don't stand up now, it's going to be too late. And I'm going to be honest, it's really, really going to be too late to try to come back from this, because to be honest, we don't have nowhere else to go. We've already been to the bottom. So are we going to stay at the bottom, or are we going to come up to the top? That's what I want really people to think about. So I have an appointment this morning, here in a little bit, but it's a video at Zoom. So I'm going to get up out of here this morning, but I want people to pay attention. That deadline is supposed to be, I think it's noon tomorrow. I know it is Friday, but people really, really should look at that. And it's not about the kids. I will be honest. None of this legislation that they're doing is about the kids. It's about their feelings. It's about their emotions. It's not about what's right and what's wrong. Because if it was wrong, we should have been doing it from the get-go. But because we became such progressive and liberal with our policies, with our ordinances, this is what people believe that is normal nowadays. I didn't think that we would. Somebody asked a question yesterday, and like, when was the first time you ever heard of a trans person? And I was like, shit, I don't, to be honest. I know it was after Y2K, when I was growing up, because Y2K, I was born in 77. I was like 23. I was 23 at that time. And that's not something that no, there was more like drags or cross dressers, or I didn't know them by, what they're called now. So we have progressed, but we shouldn't have progressed in our policies, because our people's feelings and emotions haven't caught up yet. So we're still dealing with things that are in history that a lot of people never learned or never even cared about, or public education never cared to teach them the true facts. So I'm going to get up out of here. But before I go, here is The Takers, Act 2, Red Cafe, featuring So Rich, Dave East, and Mano. And I will see you tomorrow, same time, same place tomorrow. And we'll talk more about Title IX. So I'll see y'all tomorrow. Peace out.
Shakedown. Money come bait me, state come break me. We've been doing $30,000 months lately. I ain't wanna keep it, but I keep it on for safety. I got love in my city, but a couple killers hate me. So we gon' get this cake up. Bro just did 10, he got 30 in a wake up. Never let it break us. If they want my chain, they gotta send me to my maker. If you riding in this whip, baby, you riding with the takers. Never let it break us. I was down, I lost everything I had, but we never let it break us. Shorty stayed down, tell her throw it in a bag, cause we never let it break us.
When I pop out, they go in the house like it's a curfew. Dope boy, I ain't the waiter, but I will serve you. We never let it break us. I just get the paper. If I suited up for the Knicks, we would've beat the Pacers. Death for the traders, Funk Flex couldn't fade me. Arm & Hammer pushed the vanilla, ice, ice baby. When she took a hit, she thought she was a fairy. Only woman made me reminisce was Mary. I ain't Julio, but I'm the Don. The homie So Rich gave me the cue like I was John. Everything super like my gas choice. 100 racks at a time like my cash choice. Shake down on me, what else? Liquor in my liver. from the back blocks where you wouldn't want to visit. Keep the heat in the blizzard. Used to hit my babysitter, my ex-bitch sister. She knew I was the big picture.